Say this disclaimer because I don't want no one thinking, because I got my issues with Jay. Okay, I got my issues with Jay. So this is not no like pro Jay Z. Nope. Yeah. So there, I want to put that disclaimer. I'm not one of those like, oh, just because we from Bed Stuy, we from Brooklyn. No, no. Well, hello. It is your girl Tanisha Chen, Miss Inspiration. And this message, this video, is totally different. This has nothing to do with anything that I do. But for those of you that are brand new, I want you to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because we are going to have an amazing conversation today. So this video was requested by some people over on Threads. So shout out to everyone on Threads, and I will be adding this video link to your comment, so you can watch this and you can learn a little bit about the things that I saw at Roc-A-Fella Records. Um, this is in response to conversations about Dame Dash and how he has been speaking out a lot about his relationship with Jay, how Roc-A-Fella ended, just a whole bunch of stuff. So back in '98, I went to high school in Manhattan. I'm from New York, Brooklyn, New York. And I went to school, and down the block, I didn't even know, was what we called Universal Plaza. And that was where a whole bunch of record labels were. So we had Roc-A-Fella, Def Jam, all of Def Jam, pretty much. So everyone that was under Def Jam, Murder Inc., Roc-A-Fella, Universal, University, Interscope Records, which is not under Def Jam, but Interscope was there. It was like a whole bunch of record labels in one building. And so this was around the time that Hard Knock Life, Volume 2, Jay-Z's song. A dude in my school, he was in the video. So we were able to, we got excited because we know him, we see him, and it was like, wow, like, how did you get into the video? He is from RC, so I think that's how it was easily for him to get into the video. But it was ironic that he was going to school down the block from the office. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it happens for him, right? I remember one day seeing a bunch of boys outside as I'm walking to the train station, and they were handing out flyers, and they were like, join Roc-A-Fella Records Street Team. So I kept seeing it, but I really didn't take it serious because I just didn't take it serious. And so I finally said, let me at least see what they're talking about. Every Friday they would have like recruit new street team members. So you would come, you would have like you would join the meeting and you'll meet the team, the people that are pretty much who worked for Roc-A-Fella and that was overseeing the street team and marketing, the people that were pretty much super consistent and being involved in the street team. So they could have been interns as well. I don't really know, never got into their business. So that's how I got in, right? So I got into Roc-A-Fella because of the street team. When I realized, like, I've always wanted to be around music. I wanted to be a singer. And then I basically was told by a manager, yeah, singing wasn't my thing. So I figured, let me at least, this would be an opportunity to learn about the music industry, and the door opened up. So I took the opportunity. I was not expecting anything to develop and grow from me joining the street team. I signed up every Friday. We would come pick up flyers, posters, and I want y'all to understand. I went to school down in close to Times Square. So we're talking about 98, 99 when TRL was in its prime. Every day there was a bunch of kids outside. So they really monopolized on that. So we will walk over to the MTV building and we would have all the flyers. So Memphis Bleek, Beanie Sigel, Rel, whichever artists they were promoting at that time, Jay-Z, we were taking those flyers and we were walking from Universal Plaza all the way to Times Square. So we're like passing out flyers, throwing flyers sometimes. And, we were just being teenagers, being kids, and, just being able to say that you was on Roc-A-Fella Street Team back then when you're 14, 15 years old was a big deal. So I ended up like really starting to get interested in learning more. At the time, my best friend, she didn't go to school with me, but she would come up and she would meet me. And so she got involved in the street team. And because she was a little bit older than me, her schedule was a lot more flexible. So she was getting out of school earlier than I was. And I want y'all to understand, back then, I don't know how it is now, but the music industry, especially like at the hip hop labels, they didn't operate on a 9 to 5. They operated 11, 12 o'clock until the evening, because sometimes they would be listening to music in the office. Somebody just came from the studio. They come into the A&R. They want to, pass them the DAT. I think that's what it was called, the CD, and, listen to this. So I would be leaving and they would like just be coming in, bringing in food, ordering Chinese pizza, and they would like be in the office for like hours. So because she was coming up there, she was coming early. So she was coming like 1 o'clock. So she started to get to know the executive assistants, the operations people. So she was like really kind of like snooping around and, making her presence known. And that opened up opportunity for me as well. So I always, shout out to her because she was the one that was like there. And then it was like, oh yeah, my best friend is coming up because she goes to school down the block. And, she's on the street team too. So I literally was just like going to people's office and trying to figure out like, what do you do? So this is when I learned what an A&R was. This is when I learned what the street team, marketing, office manager, operations, and radio. They had a radio department. And so I just started to go around. Now I did end up helping out Bobby Dash. That was the person that was over radio at that time. And I was helping out his assistant. So, most times the street team, we would always get a list anyway. If you were there early enough, it was like, here's a list of all the radio shows that are happening right now. Call the one. So if you got there like 3 o'clock, if Angie was on, you were trying to get on and requesting, Bleek song, Jay-Z song. Jay-Z was not really, we didn't need to do it because he was Jay-Z, but Bleek, Beans, those were the core artists. Emil, those were the core artists that were around when I was there at Roc-A-Fella on the street team. And we decided, we would call. But I really wanted to figure out what did he do? Like, how do you get get this song, especially a song that's not really popular, that's not getting as much marketing. How do you get that on the radio? And so that's when I started to, help him send out vinyls. We would send DJs the vinyls for whichever artist we had. So I would do things like that. So I was like really doing like real administrative things. So while I am there, I am very observant. So this is the part that I really want to hear about, right? So my experience, the things that I saw was, I've always felt like there was a disconnect between the way that Jay and Dame did things. And again, this is just my observation. So there's really I can't fully confirm. I mean, some things have actually happened. And then like other people like Bleek have spoke about things. So at that time, we saw Dame a lot more. Dame was in the office almost every single day. It might not be all day, but he was in the office almost every single day. So I did see Dame a lot more. Jay came to the office and Jay would just be there, from what I can see, it was just very observant. Like Jay was really just coming in, checking out and seeing what everyone is doing. He really did not talk. He really did not speak. It was very rare that if you saw them all like in a conference room, everyone else is having a conversation. Jay was just like there, right? And I always say, people think that's a weakness. Nah, I always saw that was a way of listening. He had great listening skills from what I can see. And because of that, people are very comfortable, so they are going to say things and they're not mindful of it. And I think he always took notice of those types of things that were happening. So that is something that I think Dame does speak on about, right? And I'm like, nah, I think I'm going to assume, I felt like Dame felt like he was the smartest person in the room. I really do believe that he did not think that Jay-Z was that intelligent. But to me, even when Dame has spoken and said that Jay was trying to retire after like the first or second album that he did, that's not a person who just wants to be a rapper. That's not the mindset. That's not the actions of an individual that is thinking about just being a rapper. The fact that he was willing to walk away after one or two albums, that just means that, he's going to use what he has to get to where he wants to be, right? And that's a lot of people's problems. Some people don't know how to do that. I think so many people have a dream of becoming an artist. I want to be a rapper. I want to be a singer. And there's nothing wrong with that because we need that. But there are some people that truly, that's not their long game. That's not the end goal. The end goal is more. And I always realized that was Jay. Jay was always thinking a little bit ahead of everyone else. Again, I'm just saying this as a person that was there at least 4 to 5 times a week for about 3 to 4 hours a day. So it was a good amount of time. And again, when you don't, I'm also very observant. So I don't speak a lot. I'm listening. And again, when you're listening to the conversations are not parallel, right? You got one person who's loud, who's arrogant, who's talking crap, and another one who's talking about strategies and business ideas. You're not speaking the same language. It's like a person who only speaks English speaking to a person who only speaks Spanish. You are not going to understand one another. There are going to be some similarities. There's going to be some things that are going to be familiar, but it's not going to be 100%. And so the good part about when I left Roc-A-Fella was that I went down the hall to Interscope Records. So at this point, because when I started, Roc-A-Fella and like Murder Inc. was on another floor. It was like the setup was totally different. And then we moved, and then the floor that we were on, Interscope Records had 75% of the floor, and Roc-A-Fella had 25%. So I remember Bobby, he fired his assistant. I wasn't trying to be Bobby's assistant. Like, no, thank you. Plus, I was too young. By this time, I was 15. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good, shorty. So I started to inquire. And again, like I said, Roc-A-Fella was very small. So this was not a big label. This was not the Universal. This was not Sony, Arista. It was not an Interscope. Interscope had multiple floors and they had multiple offices because they also were on the West Coast as well. So that's just to show like the different dynamics of how the record labels were set up back then. So I went to the operations person at Roc-A-Fella and I was like, do you need an intern somewhere? No one needed an intern. Everyone had an intern already. She was like, well, I know someone down at Interscope. Let me talk to her. I think she mentioned she needed an intern. So she introduced me to my now mentor. And my mentor and I have been cool since I was 15 years old. So I remember distinctively, I know I left Roc-A-Fella and went to Interscope at 15 because that's when I met her. So started working with Interscope. And because of how the floor was, Interscope was on this side and Roc-A-Fella was on this corner. So we were able to hear everything, like everything that was going on, it was like right there in our like earshot. Because again, Roc-A-Fella, like the music industry is not corporate America. And so they're not corporate America, but I will say Roc-A-Fella was just like a little bit more, they definitely were not. They were like straight up, this is like we hanging out in the basketball court, we chilling, hanging out, having a beer, we shooting the breeze. Like it was like that type of energy. So they would have very loud, explosive conversations, and we hear everything. And I remember, just still seeing that dynamic. And I do remember one day, this is when Jay started to wear wear his jeans with a button up and a hat and put on his uptowns. That was grown man stuff, because back then nobody was doing that. Everybody was still in the franchise boys with the big t-shirts, the baggy jeans. That was the style in New York City at that time. And so while that was still the style, Jay was now switching it up. And I remember one time he walked into the office with his security guard, and Dame just started clowning him. Like, was straight clowning him. Oh, look at this corny dude. Nah. And I'm just sitting there like, there's nothing wrong with what he has on. Like, it's nothing wrong with what he has on. Like, what is the problem? And so I say that because it's those types of moments that is going to make somebody realize, like when we gonna grow up? When are we gonna grow up? So that's something that was like another writing on a wall. It's just a lot of like little moments that were just happening. But I always say, I remember, and I knew Bleek, because Bleek just spoke about this on his podcast, or one of the podcasts, and he said that when Dame made Cam and all of them, everybody got new titles. I'll never forget that day, okay? Because I was down at Interscope. I'm over there faxing. Like, this is how old school. I'm up here sending out press releases through the fax machine, and I can see the hallway. So I see what's going on down there, and Dame is like, he's changing, because so outside of the offices, it would have a CD and it would have the person's name, and they had their name and their title, and I saw him making them changes. And so again, because I know people down the hall, so I go down there because I'm being nosy. I want to know what's going on. And I started saying, what is going on? Jay was not around. Like, you did not see Jay come to the office at all. And by this time, I'm at Interscope every single day. Like, this is what I do. I'm here every day. I'm learning about being a publicist. I'm learning about administrative assistant roles and duties. Like, I'm there. Like, are we sure about this? I remember saying that because it was just mind-boggling. It was a surprise when they even brought Dipset up there. I was like, I won't say the things that I said because I was not happy, because this was when Cam and Mace were beefing, and I am a Mace fan. So I was really like, I was throwing shots at Cam. But I knew Jay was not 100% okay with this. I knew that. And to me, that was kind of clear. Like, the writing was kind of on the wall. So I don't know why nobody else understood this was not okay. And I said, because Jay came in that office as if he already knew what happened. Like, he didn't walk in blindsided. He walked in like, I know this is not what they're telling me, and I'm gonna get there, and it's not gonna be that. And he walked in, and he saw these things, and these conversations were happening, and he walked right out. And that is when I knew Roc-A-Fella was coming to an end. And that is the one thing that I can say. I've been like, does Dane forget that? Like, Jay wasn't around. He was not around. Now, if he want to say, and again, I wasn't there. I wasn't on the island that Jay-Z was at, and I wasn't where Dane was with his two-way pager. So I don't know. But from these different conversations and reactions, it's like, Jay, Jay didn't know. Jay didn't know. So you can't keep pretending, you know what I'm saying? And these are things that, like, this is like street code, and I get street code, where it's like, yo, that's not my man. Like, that's not my man. How you going to bring him? First, you want to sign him. All right, cool. You want to sign him? Whatever. I don't see them being part of the La Familia. Like, I just couldn't see that dynamic. And yeah, so I knew that once that happened, shortly after, it was announced that they were parting ways. And that was a real interesting time, because I wish that I could have still been around but Interscope was moving to another building. Like they was moving to a whole nother part of Midtown. So like that's when I like by that time 2001. By that time, that's when I was like I lost contact with most of the Roc-A-Fella people because I was going off to college. I finished college. I finished high school a year early, so I went off to college. And the few people that I did stay in contact with, they did not stay in the music industry. A lot of the people that I still am in contact with, they came from the Interscope side. So that was just a different world. But yeah, like, like I said, I Dame did what he had to do. He was dope. He really went hard for Roc-A-Fella. I'll give him that. He went really hard for Roc-A-Fella. But it's just like, some of his moves were a little questionable. Like you gotta question it. Like why? Like why would you do that? So I don't fault Jay. I think things could have been done differently, of course. But I think once again that street code, once like the disrespect is that loud, I'm gonna show you what disrespect is. Like you can't tell someone how to disrespect you back after you disrespect them. And that's something that I think people forget. You can't tell somebody how to do you dirty because you just did them dirty. Now, how you did it, that was cool. That was your choice. So, Jay-Z definitely plays chess. That I 100% know. He plays chess. And I give him credit for that. And I'm telling y'all this, I should have made this disclaimer because I don't want no one thinking, because I got my issues with Jay, okay? I got my issues with Jay. So this is not no like pro Jay-Z. Nope. I got my beef. And it is what it is. I mean, I let it go now. Like, I was a teen when these situations happened and arguments and stuff. But, yeah. So there, I want to put that disclaimer. I'm not one of those, like, oh, just because we from Bed-Stuy, we from Brooklyn. No. It was a really long time that if you mention Jay-Z's name, I got something smart to say. So that's something I needed to put out. I might need to go to the front of the video because I don't want anyone thinking like, oh, she just a Jay-Z fan. No, I'm really not. I value his music. I respect everything that he's done. I think a lot of people can learn again using the gifts that you have to get you to where you want to be, and the things that you need or things that you desire. That's how a lot of people need to start operating. And people like him and Rihanna, I always talk about that, are those people that understood I want to do X, Y, Z. In order for me to get the resources, the funds that I need, I got to use this particular gift. Many of us have multiple gifts. So you just got to use the gift that you know can monetize and make you the money that you need to get to the next level of where you really want to be. Whether that is entrepreneur, having your different businesses, having a school, different things. What gift is going to get you started to get you to where you want to be? So I am your girl, Tanisha Chen. If you have any questions, you can drop them below. I'm not really expecting this to go beyond too many people, but if you have any questions, I won't go into details about other people. Like, don't ask me, oh, did you see so-and-so? I saw a lot of celebrities. I worked alongside, I won't say I worked alongside of them, but I was there, right? I worked around, and like I said, I saw a lot of things. I just don't talk about them because I never had to sign a NDA, so I could talk about them. But I don't want no problems. Like, I don't want Mr. Carter's people who's knocking on my door in Tulsa talking about something. We need to talk. Like, I don't want them problems, okay? So I hope this message has given you some insight. And for those of you that are thinking about being an intern, I really encourage you to do it. If you have children that have the opportunity to, be in an environment where they can learn firsthand from people that are experienced, whether it is hands-on learning or people who actually went to school and now they're applying it, please, I encourage them to go to school. To go and take part in any kind of internship opportunities, paid or unpaid. I did unpaid, but the wealth and the experiences and the knowledge that I have now, yeah, that's priceless, right? That's priceless. So I am your girl, Tanisha Chen, Miss Inspiration.